In the last class, we have discussed about the different types of clusters and basics of cluster algorithms also we have discussed, right? Today we'll discuss about the centroids and its objective functions. Assigning points to the closest centroid. To assign a point to the closest centroid, we need a proximity measure that quantifies the notion of closest for the specific data under consideration. So here, it might be the points in two-dimensional space. The set of data, whatever we are considering, it might be the points in two-dimensional space, or we might be considering documents also. We might be considering documents also. So here, centroid means we know that we are going to find out the midpoint. Centroid means we are going to find out the midpoint. That midpoint is called as centroid, right? So here, whatever the centroid we consider, we need some measurement, or we need some method, that is proximity measurements. We need some method to get the notion of closest. Closest means what is this meaning of closest? So because if we consider documents will not be having points in the two-dimensional space to find out the distance. Okay, it might be similarity. For example, if we have text, we'll be finding the similarity in the text, whether it is similar, how closest it is. So that notion of closest for the specific data under consideration, that we need. The method for finding this closest value, we need closest points or closest data we need. Okay, that is called as proximity measure. Euclidean L2 distance is often used for data points in Euclidean space, while cosine similarity is more appropriate for documents. So Euclidean distance, we can use it for the data points in the space, that is, for example, two-dimensional space or Euclidean space. Okay, so when this is for the data with the data that can be represented as points. Now, if it is document, the data which we are considering it as document, then cosine similarity will be used for the documents to find the closest points or closest data. There may be several types of proximity measure that are appropriate for a given type of data. For example, Manhattan L1 distance can be used for Euclidean data. Okay, Manhattan L1 distance. This is one formula we have. So Manhattan L1 distance, L1, L2, these are the formulas. Okay, L1, Manhattan L1 distance can be used for Euclidean data, while the Jacquard measure is often employed for documents. We have another method that is called as Jacquard measure that will be used for the documents. Usually the similarity measures used for k-means are relatively simple, since the algorithm repeatedly calculates the similarity of each point to each centroid. So we have discussed k-means algorithm in the last class. So we know that it will repeatedly calculate the centroid. It will repeatedly calculate the centroid until it finds the cluster. That is, cluster means the combination of points which are together or which is nearest to the centroid. So here we know that similarity measure used for the k-means, it's very simple because the algorithm repeatedly calculates similarity of each point to its centroid, right? In some cases, such as when the data is in low dimensional Euclidean space, dimension is low. Number of dimension used for the Euclidean space is low. I told you, for example, two-dimensional. It is possible to avoid computing many of the similarity, thus significantly speeding up the k-means algorithm. For example, when the number of dimension is less, then number of possibilities, number of similarities that we need to calculate will be less. It is possible to avoid computing many of the similarities. We need not to find many of the similarities here. That is when the data dimension is low. So it will speed up the k-means algorithm. So obviously computing reduces means it will speed up the algorithm, right? Bisecting k-means, this is another algorithm. Okay, bisecting k-means is another approach that speeds up k-means by reducing the number of similarities computed. Okay, we'll discuss this algorithm also. Bisecting k-means, it will reduce the number of similarity that we need to compute. So centroids and objective functions. Step 4 of the k-means algorithm. I hope you remember k-means algorithm. Step 4. It says recompute the centroid of each cluster. Recompute the centroid of each cluster. This is stated generally. This statement is stated generally. They have not given how to compute this. Right? How to compute this? They have not given. In general, they have given recompute the centroid of each cluster. Because the centroid can vary depending on the proximity measure for the data and the goal of the clustering. Okay, so here computing this centroid, it may vary, it will vary because we might be using the data points in the Euclidean space, or we might be using the document kind of data. If that is the case, the measure or the method we are going to find out the centroid will be different. So that's why they have given this in general, recompute the centroid of each cluster. The goal of the clustering is typically expressed by an objective function that depends on the proximities of the points to one another or to the cluster centroids. Okay, here goal of the clustering, it is expressed by the objective function. It is expressed by the objective function, and this objective function, it depends on the proximity of the points to one another. Proximities means the nearest point which we are going to find out. Okay, nearest points. Proximities of the points means the measure which we are going to find out which are nearer to the centroid. Okay, or to the cluster centroids. Okay. Example, minimize the squared distance of each point to its closest centroid. Okay, so here we have to minimize. This is one method. Minimizing the sum of squared distance. Minimize the square distance of each point to its closest centroid. The key point is that once we have specified a proximity measure and an objective function, the centroid that we should choose can often be determined mathematically. So here, once we know what is the formula we are going to use for finding the centroid and the objective function, which objective function we are going to use for proximity measure, the centroid we need to choose will be and can be determined mathematically. Mathematically, we can find out the centroid. Data in Euclidean space. Consider data whose proximity measure is Euclidean distance. Okay, that is distance between the points. Okay, Euclidean distance means distance between the points. So we have a data whose proximity measure is Euclidean distance. For our objective function, which measures the quality of clustering. Your objective function is, it will measure the quality of clustering. We have to use the sum of squared error, SSE. Okay, sum of square error, which is also known as scatter. This sum of squared error is also known as scatter. This is the proximity measure we are going to use. This is the objective function. In other words, we calculate the error of each data point, that is its Euclidean distance to the closest centroid, and then compute the total sum of the squared errors. We are going to find out the Euclidean distance between each point and the centroid. Okay, that is the point which is nearer to the centroid. The points which are nearer to the centroid, for that we are going to find out the Euclidean distance. Okay, and then we are going to get the total sum of the squared error. Okay, for each point we are going to get the squared error, then we are going to get the total. That is, total means we are going to add all the squared errors. Given two different sets of cluster that are produced by two different runs of k-means, we prefer the one with the smallest squared error. So remember, when we have two different sets of cluster, we have two clusters. We have two clusters. that are produced by two different runs. K-means algorithm is same. K-means algorithm is same, but we have executed different time. Okay, we have executed twice. Okay, we have executed it twice with the different sets of data. Okay, we prefer the one with the smallest squared error. So sorry, not different set of data. So we'll be having same set of data. We'll be having same set of data, but it will, we have two different sets of cluster. Okay, in the using that data, we are going to find out two different cluster, but we are executing K-means twice. We are executing K-means twice, and here we are going to prefer the one with the smallest squared error. We are going to find out the squared error. From the squared error, we are going to find out which run is better. So consider this table of notation. This is required for the formulas. Okay. Symbol and description given. Symbol is X, it's an object. X means it's an object in the, for example, in the Euclidean space or in the document. Okay. Ci, it is the ith cluster, capital Ci, capital C, then small I. It is the ith cluster. Okay. Small Ci, the centroid of the cluster Ci. Small Ci means centroid of the cluster Ci. Small c, this is the centroid of all points. All the data points, whatever we have, for that we have to calculate one single centroid, that is C. Okay, and Ci, it is the centroid of the cluster, capital Ci. Then Mi, the number of objects in the ith cluster. Mi means number of objects in the ith cluster. M means the total number of objects in the data set. M is the total number of objects in the data set. Okay, Mi is the number of objects in the ith cluster. And K is how many number of clusters we have to create. Okay, that is the number of cluster. K means number of cluster. So using that notation in given table 8.1, the sum of squared error is formally defined as follows. Sum of squared error SSE equal to summation I is equal to 1 to K. That is, this squared error will be calculated for all the cluster. Okay, all the cluster, we will be having K number of cluster. For all the K number of cluster, we have to calculate sum of squared error. Okay, to calculate the sum of squared error, summation distance of Ci comma X whole square, where X belongs to Ci. Okay, Ci, capital Ci, it is the ith cluster. Ith cluster, and in each cluster we have to consider one object and find the distance between the centroid of the cluster and the object, then square it. Find the distance between 2 points and then square it. That is squared error. Okay, that is squared error. And add this squared error for all the clusters. That is sum of squared error. Okay. So where distance is the standard Euclidean, L2 distance between two objects in Euclidean space. Okay. This is the standard Euclidean distance, L2. This Euclidean distance, it is called as L2. Okay. Given these assumptions, centroid that minimizes the sum of squared error of the cluster is the mean. Okay. Mean means average value. Average value. So we have some assumptions, right? We have some assumptions. We know how it works now. So we have to find out the distance between each point and the centroid, and we have to find the points which are nearer to the centroid, right? And here centroid that minimizes the sum of squared error of the cluster is the mean. Mean means average value. Using the notation in the table which was present in the previous slide, the centroid or mean of the ith cluster is defined by the equation 8.2. So Ci is equal to summation X, where X belongs to Ci, divided by Mi. Okay, so add all the points in the cluster. Add all the points in the cluster divided by number of points in the cluster. Okay, add all the points in the cluster divided by number of points in the cluster, that is CI. What is this CI? This is the centroid of ith cluster. Okay, C is the centroid of ith cluster. Okay, to illustrate this, to understand this, let us consider two-dimensional points 1, 1, 2, 3, and 6, 2. Okay, 3 points we have here, 3 two-dimensional points we have, 1, 1, 2, 3, and 6, 2. Why it is two-dimensional? In each point we have two values, right? X, Y, for example. Okay, 1, 1, 2, 3, and 6, 2. And to find out the cluster centroid, okay, add all the first points divided by 3. Then add all the second point divided by 3. Okay, so 1 plus 2 plus 6 divided by 3. Okay, so it is 3 plus 6, 9, 9 by 3, which is equal to 3. Okay, and then add all the second point, 1 plus 3 plus 2, 1 plus 3 plus 2, second value in each point. Okay, second value in each point, 1 plus 3 plus 2 divided by 3, which is equal to 6 by 3, which is equal to 2. Okay, so this is how we have to find out the centroid for the cluster. Then document data, Euclidean space data we have considered. Document data. K-means is not restricted to data in Euclidean space. So it is not restricted. It is not only K-means algorithm. It is not only for the Euclidean data. It can be used for document data also with the cosine similarity measure. So if we are using K-means, we have to consider the cosine similarity measure. Our objective is to maximize the similarity of the documents in a cluster to the cluster centroid. So here we have to find out one centroid, and then we have to maximize the similarity. Here we have to find the similarity between the documents. So one document is centroid means, so we have to compare other documents with this centroid. So we have to maximize the document similarity. This quantity is known as cohesion of the cluster. Okay, this quantity, whatever we are going to find out, this objective function maximizing the similarity, it is called as cohesion of the cluster. For this objective, it can be shown that the cluster centroid is, as for Euclidean data, the mean. Again, it is a mean value. The analogous quantity to the total sum of squared error is the total cohesion, which is given by equation 8.3. So here we have to use cosine similarity. Okay, cosine similarity, total cohesion is equal to this cosine similarity must be found out we have to find out for all the clusters. Okay, for all the clusters. So summation I is equal to 1 to k, summation cosine of x comma ci, where x belongs to ci. Okay, this capital Ci is the ith cluster. Capital Ci is the ith cluster. The small ci is the centroid of the cluster. Okay, small ci is the centroid of the cluster. So we have to find out the cosine similarity between each object and the centroid of the cluster. Okay, centroid of the cluster. This will be, this cohesion will be, we have to calculate for each cluster, then find the sum of this. So these are the common choices for proximity measure, centroids and objective functions. So proximity function, centroid and objective function it is given. Proximity function is Manhattan L1. So centroid will be median. Okay, median means the value which is mostly used. So for example, if we have values like yes and no. Okay, if we have values like yes and no, and we have yes more number of times, then yes will be the median. Okay, and then if we have no more number of times, then that will be the median. Okay, minimize sum of the L1 distances of an object to its cluster centroid. So here we have to minimize the sum of the distance, L1 distances to its cluster centroid. This will be done for again each point in the cluster. Then second proximity function is squared Euclidean, that is L2 square. Just now we have seen the formula for that. So centroid will be mean value, that is average value. Minimize sum of squared error, squared L2 distance of an object to its cluster centroid. Then cosine similarity, for this also centroid is mean value. Maximize sum of the cosine similarity of an object to its cluster centroid. Then Bergman divergence, for this also centroid is mean value. Minimize sum of the Bergman divergence of an object to its cluster centroid. So choosing the initial centroid, it is very important, because if we correctly don't select the initial centroid, then it will end in poor clusters. Okay, so we'll see that. So first one, it is 3 optimal, that is figure 8.4a. It is optimal cluster, and figure 8.4b, it is suboptimal clustering, because you can notice the points in each cluster here. This is only similar points are there in the cluster, right? All the points are represented using triangle, right? It is similar points. Then with the dots or circle, it is same. With the square symbol, we have same values, right? But here we have a mix of triangle and circle shape data, right? That means we have two different types of data in a cluster, right? And a single cluster, it is divided into two group again, right? So you can notice that. So it is suboptimal clustering. When a random initialization of centroid is used, different runs of k-means typically produce different total sum of squared error. When we choose the centroid randomly, then when we execute k-means different number of times or for different trials, it will produce different total sum of squared errors. Figure 8.4a shows a clustering solution, that is the global minimum of the sum of squared error for 3 clusters. This is global minimum, so it is clearly divided. While figure 8.4b shows a suboptimal clustering, that is only a local minimum. Okay, we call that is when we cannot divide it completely. We cannot say that it is a correct cluster, it is correctly divided. Okay, that is called as local minimum. Locally it is sorted, or it will be divided into clusters. So poor initial centroids. So you can notice this. Choosing the proper initial centroid is the key step of the basic K-means procedure. So for K-means procedure or K-means algorithm to be worked correctly, we have to choose the proper initial centroids. Okay. So a common approach is to choose the initial centroid randomly. We can choose the initial centroid randomly, but when we choose the initial centroid randomly, it may result in a poor cluster. In figure 8.5, even though initial centroid seems to be better distributed, we obtain a suboptimal clustering with higher squared error. You can notice that that is when we in the iteration 1 randomly selected points we have here, that is one centroid is selected here, another centroid here, and one centroid here. Okay, so we can see that it is like, because within the circle shaped data we have chosen one centroid, within triangular shaped data we have taken one centroid, and for the square shaped data also we have taken one centroid. So by looking at this, we think that it is better distributed, right? But when we obtain the cluster, it will be suboptimal or poor clusters. Okay, so in the second iteration, you can see that centroid for the triangle shaped data, it has moved to this, and here in the second iteration, this also moved here, and then for the square shaped data, it got in between these two set of data points. That is, we have one set of data point here, another set of data point here. These are similar, but centroid came in between, right? Similarly, in the third iteration, you can notice that this is the same one centroid, this is another centroid, this is the third centroid. You can notice that no much changes in this, but it has moved in between again. So this is the fourth iteration. So this is one centroid, this is another centroid, this is one more centroid. Okay, looks like it has better distributed. It has better distributed, but it is suboptimal clustering. So another method is limits of random initialization. One technique that is commonly used to address the problem of choosing initial centroid is to perform multiple runs. Execute the K-means algorithm multiple times. Okay, each with different set of randomly chosen initial centroid. So for each execution, for each run, we are going to select different set of initial centroid and then select the set of clusters with the minimum sum of squared errors. Okay, so you have to execute more number of times, multiple number of times, and for each time you have to select different initial centroid, and for each initial centroid you calculate the sum of squared error and then select the clusters with minimum sum of squared error. That is a method. That is another method. This looks simple. This strategy may not work very well depending on the data set and the number of clusters sought. So while looking at this, while reading this, it looks simple, but depending on the data and number of clusters we need to create, depending on that, it may not work well. Consider figure 8.6a, this is in the next slide, you can notice that. Consider figure 8.6a, the data given consists of two pairs of cluster, where the cluster in each top-bottom pair are closer to each other than to the cluster in the other pair. Okay, top and bottom clusters are closer to each other. I will show you that. Figure 8.6 from B to D shows that B to D means B, C and D. Okay, 8.6B, 8.6D, 8.6C. Okay, shows that if we start with two initial centroids per pair of cluster, then even when both centroids are in a single cluster, the centroids will redistribute themselves so that the true clusters are formed. So we are going to select 2 points for each pair of cluster. Okay, so you can notice that. So here in 8.6a we have data, right? So these two set of cluster 1 and 2, it is closer to each other, right? And then these two set of clusters, it is closer to each other. Okay, here distance is more. You can notice distance is more. Here it is nearer. Okay, here it is nearer. And here for each pair, here we have two pairs, right? Two pair of clusters we have. For each pair, we are considering two centroids, 1 and 2. Again, for this also we have considered two centroid, and in both the centroids, that is these two centroids and these two centroids, if you consider, it is in the same set of points, right? So if I consider this as one cluster, both the centroid are in same cluster. Here also both the centroid are in same cluster, right? Even though we have chosen like this, when we select pair of centroid for two cluster, that is two centroid for two cluster, then it will redistribute it properly in the next iteration. Okay, in second iteration you can notice that it has 1 point has moved here, right? Here also from this it was together, 2 points were together, now it has moved here. So here in the third iteration it has almost in the center of each cluster. Centroids are in center of each cluster, so it is redistributed properly. It has divided into 4 clusters, right? 2 pairs of cluster with more or fewer than 2 initial centroid within a pair of clusters. So here you can notice that one centroid is here. Okay, one centroid is here with for two pair of cluster, we have only one centroid. For another two pair of cluster, we have three centroids, 1, 2, and 3. That means it is not clearly distributed. Okay, the selected points are not correctly selected. If this is the case, what happens? For these two, it will consider only one centroid. The two centroids, two data is getting merged here. This is one cluster actually, this is another cluster, but it has combined these two clusters. Okay, now here also you can notice this is one cluster, this is another cluster, but here we have two different centroids. So it will divide the single cluster into two clusters if we select like this. So these two clusters are merged here, and this is another cluster, and this got split. This will get split in the next iteration. So here it is split. This is one cluster, it has become, this is one cluster and this is another cluster. So these two clusters are combined with each other, and this is another cluster. Okay. So figure 8.7 shows that if a pair of cluster has only one initial centroid and the other pair has three, then two of the true clusters will be combined. Okay, two clusters combined and one true cluster will be split. An optimal clustering will be obtained as long as two initial centroids fall anywhere in two pair of clusters, since the centroid will redistribute themselves one to each cluster. So two pair of clusters we have, means two centroid we need. Wherever it might be, it will redistribute in the next iteration. Okay. As the number of clusters become larger, if the number of clusters are more, then it is increasingly likely that at least one pair of cluster will have only one initial centroid. Okay, pair of cluster will get only one initial centroid, which will combine two cluster as one cluster. Okay, so if the number of cluster is more. In this case, because the pair of clusters are apart than clusters within a pair, the K-means algorithm will not redistribute the centroid between pair of clusters. So it will calculate only a local minimum value for the centroid. Okay, so that is when the centroid are not selected properly when we have pair of clusters. So this is what happens, only local minimum we can calculate. Time and space complexity. The space requirement for K-means algorithm is modest, it is small. That space requirement is very small because only the data points and the centroid we need to store. The storage requirement is usually big O of m plus k into n, where m is the number of points and n is the number of attributes. The time requirement for K-means is also modest. That is time requirement is also less because it is basically linear in the number of data points. In particular, the time required is big O of I into k into m into n, where I is the number of iterations required for convergence. I is often small and can be safely bounded, as most changes typically occur in the first few iterations. We know that only in 4 iterations we have divided the cluster. Therefore, K-means is linear in M, the number of points, and is efficient and simple provided that K, the number of cluster, is significantly less than M. Okay, I hope you understood this concept. We'll continue in the next class. Thank you.